I'm coming to you from my top secret, classified geographic location, declassifying my latest job position. Okay? I've been the brand manager at this company for over 5 years now. We're making a lot of dough. We've been selling a lot of these cans. Been doing good marketing. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. Just fooling with you. Anyway, I wanted to talk with you about a very important subject, and it's kind of funny that I decided to make this video today, but I think it has to do with the fact that I added another layer today, and that's very, very crucial. And so what I wanted to talk with you about is embracing stress. Stress is an incredible gift. It's a gift of God. It's a gift of the greater power. And the reason why I am saying this is because stress works like layers, Like most people start with zero stress, And once they have stress, they're very stress intolerant. They don't know how to deal with stress, and they show it in a very emotional way. Get frustrated, they get upset, get angry. Some people shut down completely. They don't talk anymore. And this is, of course, an individual response depending on your personality type. And it also has a lot to do with your genetics. And I've seen this for myself, other people, that the genetics play a big role. A lot of the things in life, definitely have to do with genetics. But anyway, the question is, how can you benefit from this specific lesson? Let's call it a learning lesson. And stress, like I say, it works like layers. The more stress you have, the thicker the layer gets, like the thicker your skin gets. The reason why this is the case is because you have two options, right? Technically you have three options. You have an option to learn how to deal with it better, which is undoubtedly the better of the three options. At the end of the day, the reason why you experience stress and the reason why you are incapable or less capable than others to deal with the stress that you're encountering is because you lack the experience, right? You haven't had the experience and you haven't built up your stress levels yet. So that's obviously the best way to go about it, is when you evolve. And let's say you're in a difficult situation. I'm gonna give you some examples here in a bit. But anyway, that's like the first way on how you can deal with it, right? It would be by you learning from it and just improving your reaction to the specific situation. Then next time, life is all about learning. And failure is the key to success, without a question. And so you could see stress as part of failure, or you could see stress as a mistake. Because again, circumstances do not make the man. Circumstances reveal the man to himself. I recommend that you read the book As a Man Thinketh. Okay, fantastic book. I don't make any money on it, but I recommend you to read it. It's a fantastic book. So that's the first thing, right? You improve and you move on. Second option is you don't, and you avoid doing the same thing the next time. And people do that because, you can guess why, they don't want to have the stress anymore. They just simply want to live a stress-free life. Of course, that's not how it works, but at least that's what we love to tell ourselves. And so instead of improving, we avoid doing this thing, whatever experience you had, altogether the next time. And chances are you will avoid the stress the next time, right? But you're not really growing, and we're going to get to this too. But I think that's the second way how to deal with it. And so you either embrace it, right? You find a solution, and that's definitely the healthiest way to deal with it, by far the healthiest way. The second way is, again, you're avoiding something just because you couldn't handle it the first time, is rarely a good thing, whether you are in a relationship, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're having problems with your friendships, with your health, with owning a pet, whatever, traveling to a place, maybe that's stressful, learning a language. If you decide to surrender, you're not giving yourself a chance. You're not allowing yourself to grow. That's a big issue. But that's another option. That's option 2, right? And the third option is actually the worst. And it happens very, very often. And so what we're talking about here, option 3, are stress-related consequences, which include stroke, heart attack, anxiety. I mean, obviously it starts with anxiety. It starts with, just having a really bad impact on you because you didn't know how to deal with it, and you continue doing it. So that's the worst thing, especially if it leads to something significant bad, like a stroke, a heart attack, or some other serious health issues. Of course, that's the worst outcome of the 3. Now, let me give you an example, right? Let's say you go to a foreign country and you know that learning the local language would probably be a wise decision. At the end of the day, if you want to live in that country and you want to establish yourself, what you want to do is you want to integrate, right? You want to be able to do things on your own so you don't have to rely on others to get ahead, to get the things that you want in your life or in your business. To be fair, it's for everything. And so that is really, 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 really important. And so with that being said, let's say it's about learning a new language. And I've seen this so often that people, what they would do is they would give it a little bit of a try. And this holds especially true for people who haven't been exposed to a new environment that required them to expose themselves, right? Because if you expose yourself, it's really, really difficult to get going. You have not ever spoken another language, right? So you haven't done it. And because of that, it's just really hard for you to keep going because there's so much pain associated with the action. And that's why people stop. It's completely understandable. But again, from a growth, from a stress layer perspective, you want to keep going. So you go to a country and let's say it's in Latin America, potentially it's in Asia, it doesn't really matter. How it works is that typically you start out with 0 words in your vocabulary. You get there, you speak English, and of course you find locals who speak English. Of course you find foreigners who speak English as well. But again, you're not really allowing yourself to grow. You're not really exposing yourself to a new environment. You're seeking comfort. And there's nothing wrong with seeking comfort. Seeking comfort is great. At the end of the day, we can't expose ourselves to stress 24/7. At the end of the day, our energy is limited. Our tolerance towards certain things is also limited. And with that being said, you have to also allow yourself to rest, to recover, to recharge, right? Once the batteries are empty, they're empty. So you got to recharge them. It's very important. But if you go to a new country and you learn, say, 3 to 5 words, and you see that, wow, this is not enough to get by. Okay, I'm able to greet people now. I'm able to maybe say hello, hi, and how are you doing? But you're not getting any further than that. That's when people often stop because they get overwhelmed by the response they're getting. When they start communicating with a local, they quickly learn that the locals, they are not so, empathetic towards foreigners. And not purposely, but simply because they're not accustomed to perhaps talking to a foreigner, which of course requires them to speak much slower, articulate better, keep the sentences shorter, and just for them also it's kind of challenging. And so you oftentimes find people that speak super fast, and oftentimes people also have a dialect, which makes it even tougher for you, the foreigner, to get by in that place. It's really, really hard. And so what people typically do is they stop at this point because they just don't see how they can continue, because they're overwhelmed by the amount of work it would take to actually master the skill. It would take a tremendous amount of effort, and who can blame them? And if you really take a look at the whole situation and what it takes to get ahead, it's crazy to actually want it. It takes such tremendous personal sacrifice that a person would be crazy to go through all this pain, disappointment, oftentimes misery, and let's not even talk about the hundreds or thousands of hours of dedicated work that flows into optimizing a language for you to become fluent. And of course, there are different levels of fluency, correct? First, you start out with just basic stuff, no grammar, no nothing. You start out just communicating, and you try that. And so your stress layer is kind of very thin, right? Because again, you get overwhelmed by the response you're getting. And so, but if you can keep going, it will be great. Because once you keep building that layer, it will become easier and easier and easier and easier to keep growing. But the problem is that people never allow themselves to fail. As it's almost as if failure is the worst thing that could happen to them. People who are good in business, they usually manage to handle stress a lot better. They have a pretty big goal. They want to become financially independent. They want to reach a high level of net worth. And of course, that's great. And so, because there is a motivation tied to the potential financial success that they may encounter or may not encounter, they are more likely to keep going with this particular aspiration than something that does not have the same kind of gain, right? Learning a language does not have, oftentimes, it can, of course it can, but oftentimes there is no direct monetary gain associated with improving a language. People don't really spend the time improving their friendships, their family relationships, their health, right? These things are usually secondary for people. And it's sad because, again, I think you can have all the money in the world, and we have talked about this quite a bit too. You can have all the money in the world, but it doesn't mean that you are successful. Just because you have $25 million, you're successful. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you have mastered a very particular skill set, because that's again how people become rich. However, if everything else, all the other important parts of life, health, relationships, happiness, if everything else suffers just because you over-sacrificed yourself in one particular area so that you can achieve the financial success that you're capable of and that you want for yourself, you should not allow yourself to fail at the other areas of life. Language is a great skill. Language is really, really important, not just for business success, but for everything. And as the nomad elite, this is a decision that we have to make. Do we want just financial success? And there's nothing wrong with financial success. Money can be a very good thing, right? Money can be good. It solves problems, many problems. Some people would argue money solves most problems. It depends on what kind of problems you're looking to solve. So if you're only looking to solve problems associated with money or with the lack of money, of course money solves these problems. However, money does not solve health issues. Like health, once it's lost, it's extremely difficult to regain. Remember that, it's extremely difficult to regain. That's why you see so many rich millionaires, billionaires, who managed to accumulate all the financial success that they could have ever dreamed of. They've become extremely successful, and again, that's applaudable, but they have deteriorated their health, they have deteriorated other areas of their life, their friendships, their relationships, their happiness, and so are they really successful? You've got to ask yourself this question: are you really successful or not? But with stress, remember, allow yourself to fail so the layer can get thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And look for incremental improvement, not overnight success. Incremental improvement is super important. And if and when you focus on incremental improvement, you're much more likely to keep going because you didn't set your expectations too high. If you have the expectation to become fluent in a foreign language within the first 3 months, you may be very, very disappointed. Why? You may not have enough time to master it this quickly. It might take you years, depending on your personal effort, depending on your interest, depending on how much time you spend in the country, depending on all kinds of different things. So make sure you set, I wouldn't say pessimistic expectations, because people with pessimistic expectations don't get very far, but don't set too over-optimistic expectations, because you may not achieve them because you have other goals in life too that you want to realize. So I hope this was a great lesson. Let me know what your thoughts are on stress, how people should handle stress, and where are you at? How much stress can you solve in your life right now? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and let us know. Subscribe now and turn on alerts to never miss any of my future nomadism, dating and business advice videos. Thank you for watching.